We went for a night of fun camping, but the haunted hut in the forest turned our adventure into a living nightmare. The three of us had always found night camping uniquely thrilling. The shivers, the cold wind, and sitting around the fire telling long stories. But that night, as we entered the forest, an eerie silence immediately enveloped us. The trees were so dense they seemed to swallow all light, and the air carried a strange chill, as if the place had been abandoned by life for centuries. At first glance, the broken, charred hut immediately drew our attention. We tried to light a fire and gathered wood, but each time it felt as if the logs themselves were growing heavier. The night deepened, and a faint whispering sound began to echo around us, impossible to locate. For the first time, I realized that the silence of the forest wasn't real silence. Somewhere, somehow, a pair of unseen eyes seemed to be watching us constantly. My friend Faisal said, "This place feels weird. Maybe we should go back." But Irfan, who always showed the most courage, laughed and said, "We're only here for a few hours. A little fear is part of the fun, isn't it?" We sat near the hut, forming a circle around the fire, but as darkness thickened, everything felt surreal. A strange pressure hung in the air, as if something was preventing us from coming closer. Suddenly, a soft, almost inaudible voice reached our ears. "You shouldn't be here." We all looked at each other, but no one was there. Faisal said, "It's probably just the wind," but I sensed there was no animal behind the voice. It carried a human-like whisper. I turned on my camera's flash, but nothing appeared inside the hut, just an empty, charred room and an old bed. As the night deepened, every passing moment pressed heavier on us. Suddenly, a loud bang came from the back of the hut, as if a door had been slammed shut. Our breaths froze, and someone hesitantly said, "Let's go check outside." But as we stepped forward, the scent of blood and burned wood on the ground stopped us in our tracks. We heard someone talking to us, but when we turned, nothing was there. I felt eyes on us, but in the darkness, we couldn't see anything. Suddenly, something fell from above the hut, landing near the fire, a charred, smoke-stained piece of paper, covered with strange symbols that did not look human-written. Irfan bravely said, "Maybe this is an old magical script. Let's see what it says." But as we leaned in to read, a cold gust of wind blew through our bodies, and everything went silent. It was as if the forest itself had wrapped us in its grip. We decided we had to leave immediately. But as we stepped outside the hut, a shadow seemed to surround us. It was small, yet moved rapidly, and its presence filled the air with a strange, blood-like scent. We tried to run, but the moment we tried to move forward, the ground seemed to shift beneath us. The trees swayed on their own, and a faint, eerie laughter echoed through the air. Faisal screamed, "What's happening?" But there was no reply. Only laughter and whispers, and empty eyes embedded in the earth stared at us. We looked around, but only the light of our flesh illuminated a path. Suddenly, I saw a shadow by the hut's doorway, human-shaped but headless. Seeing it, my soul froze, and I stood rooted to the spot. Irfan saw it too and screamed, "Run!" We bolted together, but the forest seemed to pull us inward. At the deepest part of the night, everything felt unreal. The trees bent over us, the ground shook, and a faint whisper continuously chased us. "You cannot escape." We ran for our lives, but the path kept shifting, and the sounds from the hut echoed endlessly in our ears. Our minds were consumed with terror, and our bodies showed signs of exhaustion. But when we tried to stop, the faint voice whispered again, "You think you'll be safe if you stop?" And at that moment, the ground jolted, as if we were in empty space, and we all fell hard. Irfan's screams were swallowed by the air, and I felt something moving around us, but no body, only a shadow. Faisal mustered courage and turned on his mobile's flashlight, but the light only illuminated the hut's walls, where bloodstains and strange symbols stared at us relentlessly. We spotted a slightly clearer path and ran, but the path seemed endless. Every tree, every stone seemed to pull us back, and those faint whispers had infiltrated our minds. I saw my friends stop one by one, exhausted. Yet their bodies moved unrealistically, as if trapped in another world. At the darkest point of the night, we noticed something inside the hut bed, old and still stained with fresh-looking blood, and a wooden chest slowly opening. As we stared at it, a cold gust of wind swept through us, and voices whispered again, "This is your destination." We tried to escape, but the ground beneath our feet shook, and we were drawn back toward the hut as if by an unseen force. I turned on my camera and shone the flash, and saw twin shadows inside the chest, human-shaped, with hollow, soulless eyes. Irfan screamed, "We have to get out of here." But as we ran together, branches struck our bodies, and the scent of blood grew stronger. It became clear that we were no longer just in the forest. We were trapped in another dimension, where time and distance had vanished. With the first rays of sunlight, we finally reached the edge of the forest, exhausted, but the peace felt like a lie. We turned back and saw the hut had vanished. Only the smell of burning wood and strange symbols remained, moving subtly before our eyes. We never erased those symbols, and we never told anyone about that place. But even today, when I look toward the forest in the darkness of night, I hear those whispers, and I know the hut was not just a structure. It was a living shadow, seeking its next victim every night. If you enjoyed this true horror story, hit like and subscribe for more terrifying story. If your heart is still beating, you're not alone.